Hi, I'm John from toolsinaction.com. Today we've got a little side-by-side comparison of the two most popular pocket hole jigs on the market. First, what we're going to do is we're going to look at each unit, what comes with it, and then we're going to step through side by side and see how each one performs certain tasks and how easy it is to set up. We're going to take a look at each one of them side by side and decide which one's a little bit easier. You'll get my little feedback on it. And at the end, I'm going to tell you which unit I actually prefer. It's very close, to tell you the truth. And it has changed from when I first originally came up with this. I've had about 6 years of experience with Kreg jigs, and I've got about 3 years experience here with this Porter cable. So first off, what we have here is the Kreg K5 jig. And this has been around now for about 3 or 4 years now. And Kreg's been along for a long time. They've been around for a long time. They had the K3 jig when I first started getting into it. I bought the K4 jig. And then I've had this K5 jig now since it came out. And I've got about 6 to 8 years experience with the Kreg jigs. Now the Porter cable here, this is the Porter cable 560. It's called a QuikJig. This is a lesser known unit. I haven't seen Porter cable do like any advertising on this unit. It's very unique, super simple to use, and I know the people that use this jig absolutely love it. And so let's go ahead and take a look and see what comes with each jig. First, we're going to look at the K5 unit and see what comes with it. Typically, this comes with the main unit itself, 2 support wings, which is an improvement from the K4 system. They just attach on here. There is a little adapter that you can snap to the front of this unit so you can hook a shop vac up to it. Swivels around so you can keep the hose out of your way. I don't use this very often. I just find it easier to clean it up as I go. There is a little block for adjusting the depth of your drill bit. It comes with a drill bit with a stop collar on it, a little Allen wrench, and this little device which will allow you to make repeatable cuts. Now we're going to take a look and see what comes with the Porter cable jig. First off, you've got this main unit right here. On board, there's some storage for your square driver, which comes with it. And there's also a shorter version of the square driver. I've lost it. I'm not sure where it went. Comes with an Allen wrench so that you can set the stop collar on your drill bit. Your drill bit and stop collar sit on board as well. And it comes with a pair of clamps for clamping face framing. Alright, the first thing we're going to check is how easy it is to clamp the workpiece to the jig. So, first off with the Kreg jig. Let's say you have a piece of 3/4 inch stock and you want to clamp this together. First thing you do is, this is a quick setup, is you push the button on the back of this piston, butt it up against your workpiece, and then you're going to start taking this front lever down. Once it catches, you push in on this stop, or on this quick release, let it go 1 spot, push it in again, go 2 spots, and then clamp it down. There's going to be, when you take your finger off this and when you push down, you'll feel it stop, push it in, and there's a little locking points in here. So you just have to go 2 clicks, and then it's a quick change. So if you want to go from that to a 2x4, push your piston all the way back again, bring it forward, 1, 2 stops. Actually, this one's probably going to need 3. There's 3, and then clamp it down. Works every time as long as you make sure that you use those stops. It's very quick. Alright, now let's move on to the Porter cable. The Porter cable here is easier to adjust, hands down. Take your 3/4 inch stock, slide it in, push your lock handle all the way down, and you're going to see here there's a little knob that turns. You turn this knob, slide that down, lock it by turning it, and you're clamped. Now with this locking lever, it's repeatable. Bring it down, clamp it, you're done. Now if you want to move to a 2x4, release it, let it go all the way up, slide your 2x stock in, slam it down, lock it, and you're done. Now you're doing 2x4s. So for adjustability on stock, Porter cable wins this one. Next up, we're going to take a look at setting up the drill bit and stop collar. This is another step you have to take when drilling through different types of wood. For the K5, what you have here is a little guide block. And this thing has little steps on it, and each step correlates to the size screw you're going to use. Now, so the size screws are determined by what wood you're drilling through, and the Kreg has a nice little guide in here for what size wood you have, the thickness of what screw you should be using. So this is awesome to have this here. Now, in order to change the depth of your drill bit, you need to use this guide block in conjunction with your drill block here. Now this, on the drill block, there is little measurements on the side which will tell you, are you drilling through a 3/4 inch piece of wood, an inch piece of wood, an 1.5 inch piece of wood. And so that goes in there, and you just line that number up with the side. So if we are going to use, let's get this over, a 3/4 inch piece of wood, slide it down to the 3/4, and there's a little hole, this will just lock into place. Now what you need to do is take your drill bit and your little guide here, stick this guide, allow the drill bit to come through the hole, and when you line it up with the size screw that you're going to use, it is going to fall through that hole, and when it stops, that's where you set your collar at. So that's how you set your collar, and you set your depth for your wood. Now onto the Porter cable. The Porter cable makes this process a lot easier. You basically have your drill bit with stop collar. You slide it into the side here where there's an actual space for it. Doesn't store well here, so unless you're going to be stored in a certain direction, I wouldn't do it. I store mine elsewhere. And all you do is, once the drill bit hits the back here, you set your stop collar with the Allen wrench that's sent. This is not it. Once that stop collar is set, you never have to change it. Stop collar stays the same no matter what thickness wood you're using. So set this once and forget about it. One less place for you to make an error, and makes the job a little quicker. So as far as setting your depth for your drill bit, Porter cable wins this one. Storage and accessory storage. First off, the Kreg K5 jig can be broken down into a few little pieces here, which can be stored in a drawer, a box, wherever you want. And all the accessories fit in these storage wings, with the exception of the adapter for the vac hose. Now this could be left right on board if you snap it into place, take it off when you don't want to use it. This usually sits on my shelf back here, so I don't use it. Everything else fits in here, stores up, store it away. I store a little differently, and you'll see at the end of the video how I have both of these units stored. Storage for the Porter cable. Bigger, bulkier, heavy unit. You almost have to have a dedicated place to set this thing. It's not going to fit well in a drawer. You might have to have it in a cabinet. Doesn't come with a box. There's no carrying case for it. It does have nice storage for your drill bits on the side here, your square drives. Also, your repeatable stop sits on board too, so there's nothing to worry about there. There's a dust collector on the back side of this, which stores on there, so that rides on there the whole time. This is the only thing that does not store well on this. It's meant to sit here. Now, if there was a way to keep it there and keep it from falling out, great. I don't know why they didn't take the little extra time to make a snap here or something, but if you had to have this unit up and it falls out, you could end up having to break this tip off, and you're going to buy another drill bit. So, storage of accessories, kind of a draw. This one has the drill bit that doesn't store well. This one has the dust chute that you either have to deal with or put it away. As far as storage of the unit, the K5 wins this one. Next up, we're going to talk about some of the more important things. Supporting your workpiece. The K5 added these 2 table extensions to their unit. And it is really nice how they did this. They just click in, nice and flush with the main base here. Everything stays nice and flat. So let's say you are using a piece of wood that is fairly long. In the past, you had the little base and that's all you could work with. Now, you're supported all the way across the workpiece, which is nice. So when you get to the end of a workpiece here, it doesn't go tipping out too much. You can just hold it down and it's got a lot of support. You clamp it into place and you're good to go. So works great for that. Now, another thing is if you're trying to do taller pieces like this, this works great as far as supporting it. It does a great job. But let me get this set here. Now, if you're into a real tall piece, like 2x4s, I made my kids beds, loft beds, and I had really long pieces of wood. So I would have to take this off the table, sit it on the floor, stand the piece of wood up, drill the holes. No problem. Now if you get into a piece that's taller than your ceiling, you have to take it outside. That doesn't happen very often. The majority of the work you're going to do with this is going to be able to work on a tabletop. But just something to think about. So horizontally, great footprint. Vertically, works awesome as far as clamping and holding the workpiece in place. You're just limited to the direction that you can do this in. So you might be asking yourself, how does the Porter cable perform with this? First off, you can see that there is no support wings. And so you're limited to the 5 or 6 inches that you have on this unit to support your piece. Most of the time that's perfectly fine. Now if you're working with a longer piece, it becomes a little trickier. This unit wants to tend to drop at one end, and when you hold it back up, you can be wobbling. So you got to make sure you get set, clamp it in, and go. It's not impossible. Minor detail, it's a little annoying. Now, as far as vertical, with this unit, if it gets too high to work with, which you can do, pull off this little dust catcher in the back, which you can also hook your shop back up to. Set the orientation 90 degrees. Now you can take your long workpiece and you can work for as long as you can in the horizontal. As far as you can in the horizontal, clamp down and go through this way. So this one is really versatile if you've got super long pieces. So horizontally, K5 wins. Vertically, in different circumstances, in extreme circumstances, the Porter cable wins. All right, there's one more adjustment / feature on both of these units that you can use, and we're going to go over those real quick right before we get into the actual performance test. Now in the Kreg, spacing out your pocket holes, let's say if you're doing it on the end piece of wood, depending on how wide this is down here, you can space your pocket holes real close together or apart. You've got several options. You can do a single hole, you can do B and C that are close together, C and A that are far apart, B and A that are a little closer together than A and C but farther apart. So you've got a few options here, but they're all stationary. I actually like that, and you'll see why. The Porter cable basically has one hole that's stationary here and one hole that slides back and forth with this knob that you can adjust it where you want it. Now you can't lock this knob, so it can continue to move. It's fairly secure, it stays there. But the other thing I don't like about it is, you'll see in the performance testing, I don't know if it's this unit at top, this whole unit that shifts a little bit, or the fact that this isn't clamp tight, because you can move this when this is clamped, but it kind of gives me an oddball hole. So as far as this feature goes, I like the Kreg K5. All right, one last thing I wanted to show you before I wrap this up, and it has nothing to do with the comparisons. But I talked earlier about storage and how you can store both units. I have a very simple way that I store mine, and it works really well for me, and it makes it great for on the go. But basically what I've done is I've taken both these units, screwed them to the board, a board. On this one, it already comes with your outfeed wings, so I don't need to make any adjustments there. And all I did was drill a couple holes in the top, and I have some OSB board for my wall that I can just throw some screws in and hang this up. You know, with the storage wings the way they are, everything stores nicely in here. They lock into place, and I don't have to worry about losing it. I don't have to go finding my bits or anything. Everything's right there. Grab the board and go. Similar thing here with the Porter cable. Same idea, holes at the top, but the difference is I had to add outfeed wings. Now, the nice thing with the Porter cable is it's 1.5 inches thick. So I can just use a 2x4 here and it measures straight across. The old K4 unit I had, it was oddball. It was a little over 3/4, so you couldn't use a 3/4 inch regular piece of wood. You had to jack it up a little bit or recess this unit down. It was a little oddball. So this unit, same thing. Most of the stuff stores on board. What I did is I drilled a hole here in the table or in the outfeed wing, and I just screw my bit into there. It stays all nice. Put a handle on it because this is a little bit heavier of a unit. But they sit side by side on the wall, easy peasy, and I love how easy it is to just pick it up and go. All right, I'm into my last comparison here, where I'm going to drill a couple holes with each of these units, and we're going to see which one actually looks better, performs better. Just randomly going to select the hole. Use 2 different drills because I have different stop collar settings. All right, set that for drill. All right, made that little 12-volt work. Yep, just as I thought. Take a look here. The K5 jig, very evenly spaced, very perpendicular, parallel from each other, the holes perpendicular with the bottom. The Porter cable, not so much. One hole is, it's just weird. One's cockeyed and a little deeper than the other. Now, performance-wise, using these, I've had no issues with the joints. I just don't like the way this looks. All right, time for me to sum it up. First off, both units, excellent units. You can't go wrong with either one. Priced extremely similar. The Porter cable is a little more expensive, but again, it comes with that face frame clamp. This one does not. If you want the clamps, you got to buy them separately. So price shouldn't be an issue. Now you got to look at storage, a little easier to store. Adjustability, easier to adjust. Performance, better job on the K5. And in the end, I think that's what you want is performance. They both perform. It just gives you a nicer, neater look. And in the end, that's kind of what I want. Now, just to let you know how I work these, most of the time if I'm doing 2x4 work, I use this one. Just beefier and easier. I know not everybody has both units, you can't do that. So I like this one for 2x4s and that's how I use it. Everything else, which is typically 3/4 inch work, I use this. This is my go-to one and I use this a lot more. So it's up to you, but the K5's been out there for a while, well known, good unit, great unit. Porter cable, bigger, beefier, and super simple on adjustment. You can't go wrong. I mean, it's kind of dummy proof. So pick which one you like. They're both great units, and hopefully this helps a little bit. But in my preference, I would take the K5 over the Porter cable. So until next time, I'm John from Tools in Action. Talk to you later.
Remember, for more exciting tool action, go to toolsinaction.com.